Gerard. I'm not sure she's here yet. So let's work through the list here. Mr. Larry Dallimore, is he here? Are you comfortable with presenting now, or do you want to? You are? Very good. Well, welcome, Mr. Dallimore. Good afternoon. And 10 minutes, and I'll do a bell ringing, something like that, when we've got a couple of minutes left. And the time is yours. If you wish us to ask you some questions, can you please accommodate us within that 10 minutes? And the time is yours. Thank you.
Sure will. I can't follow Auntie Pauline's submission. It makes my concerns a little bit less. My concerns are quite simple, really. This structure will impede the natural flow of gravel. By doing that, it will contribute to reduced supplies of gravel to the coast and reduce flood flows which transport that gravel to the coast. The risks are not so simple. Starvation of gravel supplies will lead to constant erosion on the beaches, in the Hawke's Bay gravel beaches. Permanent erosion will devastate the beaches. Future generations will be deprived of decent beaches for recreational use. And more importantly, the integrity of the beach barrier ridge, which protects large parts of Napier City and Clive. But Napier City, possibly the inclusion of the CBD makes it a little bit more serious. But the integrity of that barrier beach will be compromised. I was hoping the City Council, and I have requested them to support my submission, but I've read theirs, and I choose to go a little bit further than $1 each way on their one, where they don't have issues with protecting the 34 k's of Napier's coastal environment. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Dallimore. We'll start with our staple over here.
Started for one. Thank you very much for your detailed submission. It took quite a bit of reading. I think you've applied yourself to the subject, and I'm impressed. But my question goes to the issue of how this decision should be made by the Regional Council. Do you believe that the Regional Council should apply the highest standards of fiduciary duty in making the decision as to whether or not to invest $80 million in the Ruataniwha for water storage schemes?
Sure.
And in doing that, do you think that the Regional Council should have in front of it the most up-to-date, complete business case with all the details in it, as it's been?
Sure.
And thirdly, do you believe the regional councillors themselves should make ascertain for their own knowledge that the conditions precedent have been met? For example, that the 40 million cubic metres is contracted as guaranteed and unconditional, and that the contractor supply is guaranteed and unconditional.
Of water.
Yep. Thank you.
Can I just make a point to one of your points? The Board of Inquiry were limited to all issues up to the river mouth and not beyond. I believe once someone gets serious and starts to consider the issues outside the river mouth, which rely on the supply of gravel from the Ruahine Ranges via the Tukituk River, and they're now the sole supplier of that gravel, I think that should be a serious consideration for this council and anyone else.
Thank you. Okay, other questions? Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Dallimore, for your submission. You referred to your request to Napier City Council. I notice in their submission they don't refer at all to their issues around West Shore. What was their response to your...
I didn't get one. It was directly to the Mayor. But my issues are not just confined to West Shore on this subject. They have 34 k's of coast, which is going to be under threat or siege from a lack of supply of gravel, which comes from an area above this dam. It is coming from 42% of the erodible area. The regional councils say that's not significant because they believe it's only the 4% catchment area It's not a great lot of gravel, but it's 42% of the erodible area in an area where the rainfall is exponentially worse, if that's the right way to say it. There's a lot of rainfall up there that brings the gravel down. Did that cover it?
Yeah, asking whether you had you mentioned Napier City, but you didn't get a response.
I have asked them several times, but more socially, not directly. But I have written to the mayor and haven't heard from him.
Thank you, Councillor.
Sorry. None of the councillors appreciate or want to know, from my experience talking to them, anything about what happens to the coast. They believe that it's there and it's going to be there forever, and they continue to develop Marine Parade without a care of that barrier ridge being compromised by lack of gravel, rather than worrying about climate change or sea level rise, which is going to be, I accept it's an issue. But that's well after I'm gone.
Thank you. Councillor Belford had a question.
Yes, Mr. Dallimore, can I take you to item 6 on your written submission?
Yes.
Which has to do with the amount of sediment coming into the reservoir?
Yes.
You don't quite say it here. I'm inferring that you dispute that the plans for the dam have adequately dealt with this issue, or because my understanding is that there is a plan to lift this out, transport it away, et cetera, et cetera. Would you just elaborate on your number 6 here a bit?
Well, the transporting of the gravel from behind the dam is going to, the reservoir is going to fill up, and that's given the lifespan of, I think, 287 years. I'm saying that if these figures are right, that the engineers are saying that lifespan is going to double, because they're saying that there's not the same amount of gravel that comes in behind the dam is being deprived from in front of the dam. And I can't work that out. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council has the data that could prove me wrong, but I haven't seen it. And I have had that in a submission to them earlier to the Board of Inquiry. If you read through there, my submission is only 3 pages, but the rest of it is material to back up what I'm saying. Because I haven't got some letters behind my name, these guys just put me aside.
Thank you. Councillor Bevan.
Thanks for your submission. If I understand correctly, your concern is that the dam will have a negative impact on the problems we already face with coastal erosion. It's
going to exacerbate them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I've raised the same issue with the engineers here, and what they tell me is that there are 7 tributary rivers that flow into the Tuki-Tuk, and what we're doing is damming one of them, and that shingle or gravel will continue to flow out of the other 6.
Sure.
And that to compensate for the one that's being blocked, the plan is to put, I think it's about 1,600 cubic metres of gravel annually to re-nourish the coast to compensate.
Yep.
You're saying you don't regard that as adequate?
No, definitely not. It's a meagre amount. If you start figuring out what Bowler brought down, in the 3 years following Bowler, 500,000 cubic metres. Does that mean that he stops or I stop?
You've got 2 minutes.
You've got 2 minutes.
Just while I'm on that point, I'd just love to have you at the beach, and right from the coast. I'd love to put you in a helicopter and show you exactly what I mean. Guarantee I'll change your mind. But anyway, back to that. The 260,000 cubic metres that's going into behind the dam into the reservoir. How could that, to my mind, with all the equations of the gravel and the flows that get impeded by the going into the aquifer or being extracted for commercial use, how could 260,000 cubic metres of gravel that's going to the reservoir per year end up being a meagre amount of 1,600 at the coast? The 1,600 is a teaspoonful when you compare what comes down in events like Bowler, as I just said, 158,000 per year for 3 years is what the data from the regional council shows.
So you're saying that if we had another cyclone bowler,
Yes.
we wouldn't get anything like the
Our
same.
problems would be gone. In
level.
1988, it's a long time since a decent one. We're due,
Yeah.
but can we bank on that?
Yeah, but you're saying that you wouldn't get that out of the other 6 tributaries.
No, because the Makaurau is 42% of the erodal area. That's where the source, that's the material from. I think they've got that part wrong, and they've tried to bluff. I'll remove that word. They have suggested that the catchment area is at only 4%. That equates to the amount of gravel that's contributed to the Tohitoa. I don't go with it.
Okay, thank
It's not credible to my engineering experience as a contractor and rather a large extractor of gravel. I had a fleet of truck on the Tuaroa for probably 5 years continuous. And I know what extraction does to a river. I've seen it. But whilst you're fixing flood problems, you're reducing the gradient. My mum used to jump off the Redcliffe Bridge. They've strengthened it now, but if you jumped off now, you'd break your neck. Well, you'd break everything. That's how much the river's gone down by over extraction. The 330,000 went out for the motorway. It's mentioned nowhere because no royalties were paid. There's all that gravel that's come from the Avatota Shingle Company year after year after year as P metal, which is a byproduct, which is no good for anything. Given to the port, no royalties. So it's not in any records.
Thank you, Mr. Dallimore. Time's up, and thank you for a very comprehensive submission. And
Thank you.
allowing us some time for some questions, which was much appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you very much.